Now Bresciano to Curlin Kennedy! Is that the goal that takes Australia to Brazil? It's Big Josh Kennedy! Cue delirium in Sydney!
And my baby's hard to me, I go to Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, we're off to Brazil. But first, for the Socceroos, is a trip to the capital. The beaches and parties of Rio are a long way from Brasilia. Waiting in the heart of this football-mad country, the reason the pulse beats so strongly, the formidable Seleção.
Neymar! Wow!
Their best, a real test. The perfect tune-up for 9 months' time. And it's right now on Fox Sports.
It is, of course, as well, Brazilian Independence Day, marking their split from the ruling Portuguese in 1822. So, an important day for Luis Felipe Scolari's side. He's had some injury concerns. Dani Alves, Oscar, Hulk and Fred all ruled out. So Maicon gets his first cap in 2 years at right back. Ramirez and Bernard replace Oscar and Hulk. And Joe gets another chance to reinvent his international career up front. Neymar was a late injury concern after rolling his ankle in training yesterday, but he starts wearing number 10. Now the Australian lineup, no Tim Cahill or Luke Wilkshire. For the Socceroos, of course, they're both out with injury. Ryan McGowan gets the nod over Rhys Williams at right fullback. Brett Holman will play off Josh Kennedy in attack, but will no doubt be expected to drop into midfield, where Mila Jedinak returns after a rather impressive start to life in the English Premier League with Crystal Palace. So we're all set at the Estadio Mane Garrincha, named after the flying winger, the little bird who died so tragically young after a battle with alcoholism, but whose skills will never be forgotten in this part of the world. Brazil, in their last 3 fixtures in the capital, have scored 14 goals. They've lost just 1 of 9 competitive games here. So 277 days to go before the World Cup kicks off, but the preparation starts here for Australia on a continent where they've never managed to muster a victory, Robbie Slater.
Yeah, and what a fantastic occasion for the players to get a taste of what will, certainly be some of the atmosphere in next year's World Cup, playing against the hosts. A fantastic opportunity for the players.
What will Australia's approach be in this fixture, Robbie? Will they try to attack, or is it a case of trying to limit the damage against what is, after all, one of the favourites for the World Cup next year?
Yeah, look, I think we'll try and be nice and compact. I think the goal is not to be too deep. If you sit too deep, you're just going to invite pressure. Of course, Brazil are going to dominate possession. I think that's pretty much a given, but we'll be looking for the likes of Cruz and Holman and Orr on the counter-attack and transition when the ball does break down, or when the play breaks down, if they can hit Brazil quickly.
This is Neymar on the ball, and he's just signed for Barcelona in La Liga for a fee befitting of his mercurial talents. One of the best players in the world at the moment. Rather low-key start in these opening seconds. Brazil seeing more of the ball, as you might expect. And this is that man Neymar again. Beautifully balanced footballer. As I say, did roll his ankle in training yesterday, was a little bit of a doubt today. These two countries have met on 6 previous occasions. Australia with just the 1 win. It was at the Confed Cup in 2001. Sean Murphy with the only goal. The only man to score against Brazil, who now have a free kick, courtesy of the infringement on Paulinho of Tottenham Hotspur. Neymar working it out to Marcelo of Real Madrid. Cross is deflected, only partially clear by Neil. This is Bernard, lays it back for Maicon. There is Bernard, replacing Oscar today in the attacking midfield role. Clever back heel by Joe, but Bernard not quite reading it. Luis Felipe Scolari, who's had a very interesting coaching career. Lots of different countries. Was, of course, with Bunyodkor in Uzbekistan before returning back home. Josh Kennedy can't make the ball stick. Brazil back in possession all too easily. And this is Neymar. Twisting this way and that and getting it in towards Bernard, off the post and into the back of the net off Joe. And Brazil have the advantage in the 8th minute.
Well, it's brilliant play from Neymar. Bernard very unlucky with his strike on the volley, but that's a poor goal from Australia's perspective. Now, Bernard must be the smallest player on the field. I know Manny Mackay's not too big, but he just loses him here. It's a ball that you expect Neymar, you know, once he comes back onto his right foot as a defender, you're normally quite happy about that. I mean, he does pick him out, but it's far too easy. Cannon's back off the post, and it's an easy finish for Joe. Filling in for Fred, of course, who's out injured. Joe just on hand to finish that, but really a poor goal from Australia's perspective. And it's been a very sluggish start from Australia, and they've been punished.
Well, Joe could barely miss from that sort of range. His 3rd goal and his 9th international. What a renaissance he's had to his international career. Might not have played today had Fred been fit. But he is playing. And he scored to carry on from his form at the Confederations Cup, where he also netted against Japan and Italy. But Neymar and Bernard very heavily involved in the build-up.
Yeah, well, again, it comes for me, it's from that left-back position, which is a real problem for Australia. There's no doubt. Matty Mackay playing again there for this game, but he's not a natural defender, and he's the one that really got caught out on that. You know, a little dink to the back post from Neymar. It allowed Bernard with the shot, and of course Joe with the follow-up. It's been a very poor start from Australia.
I got 2 balls on the pitch just for the moment. Again, Brazil even winning the 50-50 contest in these early moments. Australia perhaps just even looking a little bit overawed, Robbie.
Well, you just see how much on the back foot they are. That was Tommy Orr. Right back on top of Mackay defending there. And like I said, Maicon plays like a right winger as Marcelo does on the other side. Well, we know it's a step up in class from what we played recently. But this is the reality of the type of opposition we're going to get. Next year's World Cup, of course, they won't all be as good as Brazil.
Says Bresciano. Sorry, Robbie.
No, and there's a key player for me, Bresciano. Of Australia try and keep some possession. Need to get Bresciano on the ball and let's try and string some passes together.
Robbie Cruz floating it in towards Kennedy. Beaten in the air by Thiago Silva, a Brazilian captain. Holman steers it towards Tommy Orr. Holman outnumbered in midfield. Turned out by Luis Gustavo towards Paulinho. Not to give him too much weight on that pass. There is the goal scorer. Had a rather disappointing spell in Europe, did Joe, with Everton and Manchester City, and latterly Galatasaray in Turkey. Now back home with Atletico Mineiro. Brazil very quickly into their stride in this friendly international. This is Thiago Silva. Maicon. Pushed back by Tommy Orr. David Luiz. You can see the ruts on the pitch on this near touchline. It's not really in the best of condition, but certainly hasn't hindered Brazil's play in these early stages. Again, we've got two footballs on the pitch. Ball boy's a little bit over-eager. Thiago Silva with the switch. Just kept in play by Marcelo. This is Neymar. Little shake of the hips to get rid of Cruz, who then chops him rather crudely from behind, which draws the ire of both the referee and the Brazilian fans.
Well, he's just clever. He's waiting for it, and it's a silly challenge from Robbie Cruz. And that's a challenge born of frustration because they just can't get it. I'm not sure if Robbie Cruz had a touch yet. And Neymar he does play that well. And he shapes to go one way and he just holds onto the ball and he waits for the challenge. And he certainly drew that one from Robbie Cruz. Definitely a foul.
David Luiz has pushed forward, still awaiting his first international goal for Brazil. Marcelo to curl it in left-footed, and Luiz didn't get a touch, I don't think. Thiago Silva trying to return it towards Joe.
Oh, set piece again, that's a little bit too easy. Arrives at the feet of Thiago Silva, and luckily he had Paulinho just behind him and tried to play it across the face of goal straight into the arms of Schwarzer. That's all Brazil.
Well, they look a team full of confidence at the moment. The Seleção, as well they might be after lifting the Confederations Cup and defeating the World Cup holders Spain by 3-0 in the final. Interestingly, Robbie, Luis Felipe Scolari was under a bit of pressure ahead of that tournament. Their form wasn't too great, but they certainly came good, and beating the world champions 3-0 has made everyone sit up and take notice.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic performance. Some of the goals and games they played in that tournament, they beat Italy 4-2, with Uruguay, and of course capped it off in the final against Spain, the world champions. And that performance was interesting just in the style, because they were quite physical as well, really in the faces of the Spanish, and completely outplayed them. Neymar was superb.
Here he is on the ball. Just recently returned after surgery, following which he actually lost 7 kilograms in weight. He is suffering from anemia, Neymar. Luis Felipe Scolari, I can tell you, is none too happy with Barcelona, their treatment of his attacking superstar. You don't think of footballers having anemia, do you? I guess it happens. Here he is. David Luiz. Maicon. Ramirez. Looking for the little give and go. Oh, the no-look pass was absolutely stunning from Paulinho. Unfortunately for Brazil, even though the ball's in the back of the net, the offside flag is up. But what about that from a ball by Paulinho, Robbie?
That was brilliant. Looking the other way.
I think he's onside too, you know. Well. It's very tight. Tommy Orr up towards Kennedy. Not able to link up with Brett Holman. Well, that was a partnership, Robbie. I seem to remember ahead of the World Cup in 2010 that showed some promise. They played together in a friendly against Denmark, I think. Kennedy and Holman linked up reasonably well.
Yeah, in vastly different form though, that combination at the moment. Seems such a long time ago, but a lot of criticism, I guess, and I've been one of them. Brett Holman moving from the English Premier League, where he had a difficult debut season, there's no doubt, with Aston Villa, to the Middle East, for me was a cop-out. And was said in certain circles he didn't have anything else. Well, he still had a contract at Aston Villa and could have stayed there. And opted, in the prime of his career really, to move to the Middle East, and can't see how that was a good move. But anyway,
he'll say, of course, it's better to be playing rather than being in the reserves.
I'm sure there must have been other options. A move back to Holland where he did so well for so long. Anyway, it's a topic that is much talked about at the moment. A lot of our players playing in the Middle East, and for me, no disrespect to those countries, but their competitions certainly don't have the level or the tempo needed for international football. But it's a sign of the times for Australia, really. We don't have many players playing in the top leagues in the world as we, that cycle has certainly come to an end, and it's up to the new generation to replace them.
Here is one of the new generation, McGowan. It's not a bad ball for Cruz, and
that's a good run.
Australia get another corner.
A good run from Cruz. Came in late.
Well, Josh Kennedy had one effort on goal from Australia's earlier set piece. So Julio Cesar and co on red alert from the set piece. Jedinak provides height as well, or to whip it in, and well, again it was Josh Kennedy.
Another corner. And certainly look threatening, don't we? We always are, Australia, from set pieces.
So third corner for Australia. This time it'll be the outswinger from Tommy Orr. Julio Cesar gets a hand to it. Cruz. Spooned up in the air by Thiago Silva. Australia still on the attack, and Cruz onside here. Another corner. Oh, a good little spell for the Socceroos.
Beleza, que eu não tô vendo. Eu tô olhando pra ele. Só assim eu saio. João, vamos. Ó, Michael. Vai ser baixo agora.
Tommy Orr with the in-swinger again. The air by Thiago Silva. Ognanovski scrapping for it. And Brazil get it clear, only as far as Bresciano. Helped back into Brazilian territory by McGowan. Jedinak, headed by Cruz in field. Now Brazil back on the ball through Maicon. Bernard rides the challenge of Jedinak. Here's Neymar, danger for Australia. It's Neymar round two, the twinkling toes of Neymar. And eventually it's spooned over the top of the crossbar. But wonderful close control by the wonder kid of Brazilian football.
And a lightning counter-attack. Started by Maicon on the right-hand side. Bernard picks out Neymar. Look at the feet here. This is quite incredible. Just skips through there, too. Little inside, and just can't provide the finish. Brilliant balance, brilliant feet. I had to take it really quickly, as I think it was Jedinak came in right at the last moment, but fantastic to watch.
Well, it's just a little toe poke, futsal style, wasn't it? He had no time and no room for manoeuvre. That's why he's rightly labelled one of the world's best. And able to operate in such difficult circumstances with such dexterity as well. Some great slow-mo shots of the earlier Australian set pieces, but in fairness, Robbie, that's pretty much been all Australia have had to offer so far.
That's all we've had, and they do look quite threatening from set pieces, as you'd expect, but it's been all Brazil. Completely in control.
If you are just tuning in, it is the Seleção that lead, courtesy of a goal by Joe in the 8th minute, after Bernard had hit the post. And this is Maicon. Bernard. He's offside. Man from Shakhtar Donetsk in Russia, or Ukraine, I should say. Not seen too much of him, just winning his 6th cap tonight. Looks neat and tidy player, doesn't he? Robbie Cruz very close to sealing in on the blind side of Paulinho. Marcelo out for Neymar. Switch for Maicon. Bernard finds the angle for the cross, and was Neymar just shaping for the volley at the far post before Ryan McGowan nipped in. Mexican wave going around the Stadio Mane Garrincha. It's a loose one by Brazil, but Kennedy unable to take advantage. At times Australia have looked rather ponderous in possession. Not that they've had too much of that. Marcelo galloping away to try and keep that alive for Brazil. Holman. It's a clever ball by Brett Holman. Robbie Cruz racing onto it. Sends Tommy Orr a little wide. Far too wide, in fact.
Oh, it's disappointing. The break was on. And just a regulation pass out to Tommy Orr, and it was overhit.
Neymar gets the head down and gets away from Ryan McGowan, at least initially. He's done well to keep him at bay there. Switch of play from Marcelo.
And Maicon is always on this right-hand side.
Ramirez. Maicon turning it back for Luis Gustavo. It's a bit over-elaborate from Paulinho, not quite as impressive as his earlier efforts. And now McGowan is out of position as he attempted to play out, and Neymar threads it through, and Schwarzer pounces on the shot from Paulinho. Australia was stretched again there. The chance of a counter-attack is quickly snuffed out as well. Bresciano did well initially to create some space for himself, forced to go back. Ognanovski. Now McGowan. Oh, he's overrun it. And a clumsy foul as well. A disappointing little patch of play there from Ryan McGowan, because Australia were in a decent position there, Robbie.
Well, that's the problem. Every time they've won the ball back, they've given it straight away. And Ryan McGowan's obviously having a difficult job defensively against Neymar. He certainly lost control of that ball and It's really just a little snapshot of how really the performance has been in this first half. Completely outclassed in this first half an hour. Like we said, from what we've played recently, it is a step up in class. There's no doubt about that. And in Brazil, always going to be a tough ask, but Australia, well, they should be doing a little bit better, you would imagine, when in possession.
This is Neymar. Thiago Silva. Maicon. Ramirez. Just a little late on Mila Jedinak. Two players who play their club football in London. Ramirez with Chelsea, Jedinak with Palace. Maicon pursued by Tommy Orr. Bernard with the overhead kick, which produces a throw-in for Australia. Australia have made rather a habit in recent years of claiming big-name scalps, particularly on their own soil. It's a clear infringement on Bernard. Famously defeated Germany, of course, in Mönchengladbach a couple of years ago. Before that, it was the Netherlands. 2003, it was England. So far, Robbie, there's not been too many signs of a potential repeat this evening.
Well, the only bonus at the moment is it's only 1-0. And Brazil, in that final third, have created a couple of half chances apart from the goal that they scored. Neymar on the left-hand side, particularly causing lots of problems.
And Kennedy not allowed to turn, and it breaks kindly here for Neymar. Tries to thread it through, and it's watched by Mackay. Australia survive. Maicon. Neymar. Chested down by Neil, hooked clear by Ognanovski, but it's rather a case of anywhere will do for the Socceroos. And the pattern quickly re-emerges. Ramirez shakes off Jedinak and unleashes. Good block by Ognanovski, just threw his body in the way. Well, Holman rather careless in possession, although he's saying there wasn't enough support quickly enough. And now Mackay is on the wrong side of Bernard, across the face of goal, and it is 2-0 for Brazil. And it is Joe with a second goal. And again, Bernard provides the assist.
Oh, it's a brilliant ball from Bernard. Gets him behind Mackay. Just far too sharp, far too aware, too much movement. All comes from a poor pass from Brett Holman to Tommy Orr. The counter-attack was on for Australia. They win the ball back and they're off. Two passes later, it's in the back of the net. That's a good finish as well. Comes at a good height for him now. He's still got to readjust. And a brilliant counter-attack from Brazil. And 2-0. Well, certainly you couldn't deny them that scoreline, but what's so disappointing there is Australia had possession, had chances, had players moving forward, and just one lazy pass. Two passes later from Brazil, it's in the back of the net. Transition, brilliant from Brazil. Look, there's no shame in losing to Brazil. In Brazil, a fantastic side, but I think it's the manner and the ease of which they've come by this 2-0 scoreline, and just how poor Australia have been.
Well, still a long way to go. It's certainly Australian supporters watching at home will hope for an improvement in the second period. Really sign of a few set pieces. Been unable to threaten Brazil, and they've been carved apart again here. Here's Neymar in behind. This could be 3. It is 3. No doubt about it. Neymar was not going to miss from there, and Brazil are out of sight before half-time.
Well, what a finish. He didn't slow down, didn't hesitate, and in the end it's a toe poke. Neymar played right on the shoulder off McGowan there, but right through the middle of the park. Marcelo wanted the left fullback position. One simple pass into the midfield where you could really have driven a bus through. And the next pass sends Neymar through. Australia caught square and shown up really for pace at the back. And Neymar, that's a brilliant finish. Just toe pokes it. Schwarzer probably waiting for him for a different sort of strike, but without breaking stride, he just toes that past Schwarzer, and 3-0 to Brazil. Australia already looking for half-time.
Two goals in the space of 2 minutes for the Seleção. All of a sudden, Robbie, the scoreline taking on a rather ugly complexion, and Lucas Neal
There's just
lucky to get away with that one too.
There's no urgency. And like I said, there's no shame to losing to Brazil in Brazil, but it's the manner and the ease of which Brazil have played in this first half.
See if Australia can get a toehold in the game. Not like that, they won't. Brett Holman turning straight into David Luiz. And the golfing class has just been stark. Ryan McGowan's not had an easy first period, has he, up against Neymar and Marcelo and co.
Well, Scolari would be absolutely delighted with what he's seen. I mean, some pretty important players missing as well for Brazil. Hulk, Fred, out injured as well. Oscar as well, the other Chelsea player. 3 in this team: David Luiz, Ramirez, and of course Oscar. So bit of an English Premier League influence in Brazil. Or should we say a Brazilian influence in London?
Probably the latter. Dani Alves, the other one there. You forgot to mention there, Robbie. So
Dani Alves, of course, he's the one.
4 players.
Yeah, he's the one. His own goal, actually, the last game, which was they're on an unbeaten streak of 11 before losing 1-0 to Switzerland. Dani Alves' own goal.
Well, I don't think they're going to lose this one. This is Ramirez trying to drive through the middle. Jedinak relieves the pressure. This is Cruz, but there's just no one up ahead of him. First forced to turn back, and Australia put back under pressure.
Yeah, I guess you look at it now and it's easy to say, well, Australia have been poor. Why have they been poor? They've certainly been off the pace, and I just think the structure, they just haven't been compact enough. They've been too open. Brazil have played through them. Of course, we know they're good at it. They move the ball quickly, very good at one and two touch football, but Australia really have not been good structurally defending, and when they've won the ball, they've just lost it too easy. Look at the space in this midfield, and you'd have to say Bresciano and Jedinak, probably not the best combination in there against a side such as Brazil.
Neymar caught again by Jedinak.
I mean, Bresciano's in there, particularly when you have possession, to keep a hold of it, and for him to try and dictate some sort of tempo for Australia, but he hasn't been able to be in the game, as Australia have really been chasing, and they've been chasing and not catching.
Luis Gustavo.
So again, that's just a basic individual error, really. He gets away with it.
Jedinak. We've also got to pay credit to Brazil's discipline as well. They've been fabulous to watch going forward, of course, but In midfield, they've been very disciplined. They haven't allowed Australia to turn on the ball a lot and given them time to play.
Well, it's something we always say, and we always give credit for attacking sides. They've been brilliant going forward. But, you know, the good sides, you don't really see it, but it's how quick they win the ball back. And that's what good sides do. And Brazil, when they've lost the ball here in this first half, they've been very quick at winning it back. They've worked hard at times, but sometimes they haven't had to work hard at getting it back because Australia have really gifted it to them. But no, not taking anything away from their performance in this first half, that's for sure.
Maicon never going to chase that one down. Now back in Serie A with Roma. Luis Felipe Scolari, no doubt very satisfied with his team's first half display. I wonder if we're going to see the usual glut of substitutions in the second half that sometimes a little bit spoils the rhythm of a friendly international.
Well, that's what we want at the moment. Please spoil it for us. Can they make the substitutions now? Look at that, little triangles and the way they shift the ball so quickly, one touch. And just, I guess, individually, just too good. In the one-on-one battles around the park, they're just too good, too much quality. Well, this is what you're going to get, the World Cup. The opposition and standard lifts.
Thiago Silva allowed to progress unopposed. This is Bernards. Maicon around the outside of Matt Mackay and still gets the cross in. He's a big physical specimen as well, Maicon, as well as being a good footballer. Tommy Orr just having a stretch to bring that one under control. Well, that's a very disappointing attempt at a switch of play.
Well, Tommy Orr for once got the ball from Bresciano and facing the right way and had a chance really to, you know, to surge into a little bit of space, and it's a sign when you have no confidence you want to get rid of the ball straight away, and that's what it looked like there. It's just trying to looking to offload it, and the wrong decision.
Neymar, lovely feet again. Oh, he's got the ball back, not quite sure how. This could be 4, and somehow Australia prevents the concession of that 4th goal, but Neymar is just on fire.
Look how he comes inside here, and he comes inside every time, and Australia should know they get a little bit lucky with a double ricochet and just lucky he didn't finish it. This time he goes with the inside of the foot.
It's actually a good save by Schwarzer.
It's come off him.
Should have been a corner.
Far too easy, right through the heart of the Australian defence. Well, the half-time can't come quick enough. There's just a... Well, got away with that as well. Lucas Neal just misjudging the ball when it's straight underneath his foot. Well, this just has not been good enough. I'm sorry. It's been as disjointed, as poor a performance as I can remember from an Australian side. And again, I know it's quality opposition, but they've hardly had to try.
Holger Osek, who caught a brief glimpse of some moments ago on the sideline, turned 65 on the 31st of August. He'll be feeling every one of those 65 years after this display. Big job to do at the break.
I'd like to be a fly on the wall in the dressing room. I think it's going to be pretty. What is it, 44 minutes to the 45th now, and Australia have not had a shot at goal. And to be, in all honesty, haven't even looked like getting anywhere near enough, close enough to the Brazilian goal to get a strike. That's better.
And Brazil have got a man down, so the referees Bring play to a halt for the moment. Marcelo feeling the back of his left thigh. Well, chance for a breather perhaps for Australia, just try and gather themselves ahead of half-time. That's looks to me as though that's potentially a hamstring. I don't know whether you agree, Robbie.
You can tell by his reaction that it is. He's grabbed straight away. You see he's in tears there, holding the back of his leg. That'll be it for Marcelo.
You'd imagine it would be Maxwell to be his replacement, but that will have to wait for the second half. The first half has belonged entirely to Brazil. 2 goals by Joe and 1 by the excellent Neymar means that at the interval in Brasilia, it is a very comfortable lead for the 5 times world champions and current Confederations Cup holders. Australia have offered precious little, just the occasional threat from set pieces, but it has very much been Brazil's first half. At the interval in Brasilia, it's Brazil 3, Australia 0.
To your heart, straight to your heart, I can get to your heart. She said, 5 seconds in your heart, straight to your heart.
Ever wonder what me and my rugby mates get up to?
That's long gone.
4. They're a grounded bunch. Join me, Phil Kearns, as I catch up with Joe Roff, John Eales, Nathan Sharp, and who's that other lemon?
Have you got a chainsaw in that bag?
Tim Oren, for a bit of fun on the golf course.
That's out.
For a Queenslander, you're no good on the beach. Presented by St Helen, Earthy.
Finally, the worlds of footy and bingo are set to collide. Buy a 4 and 20, enter your code online and pick a square for the chance to win some incredible footy prizes. Play 4 and 20 footy bingo. See promo packs for details.
RSEA, Australia's largest workwear and safety specialist. We carry a huge range under one roof. We've got 20% off all Blunston footwear and hard Yakka Legends pants, only $39.95. Save a massive $30. Visit RSEA today.
The all-new Lexus IS is everything.
I believe in Melbourne Heart because they're family friendly and they score lots of goals. I want to be like Super David Williams. I like them all, but he's my favourite. I believe that if I train hard and listen to my coach, then I'll play for Melbourne Heart one day. I believe in Melbourne Heart.
Well, a first half full of fluency for Brazil. Contrast rather flaccid from Australia. Certainly important for the Socceroos to gain something out of this experience. It probably won't be the result, but certainly Robbie Slater, you'd imagine an improvement in performance has been demanded by coach Holger Ossick.
Well, you certainly think so, and well, it can only really, you couldn't be as bad again, that's for sure. And I guess there is one thought, confirmation of Marcelo off and Maxwell on. Marcelo looked with a pretty bad hamstring strain or tear. Certainly not going to make his club very happy with so many important games coming up. but for Australia, you just hope that maybe Brazil take the foot off the pedal. And surely Australia, as I said, couldn't be as bad as that first half, and just look for a bit more endeavour and stay more compact when they're defending, and actually put some passes together when they do have possession.
Well, this man has been electric in the first half. Neymar capped his performance with a goal. 2 from Joe as well. Not bad for a man who's just out of surgery, suffering from anemia, and who rolled his ankle yesterday. Oh, now that's a bit careless from Lucas Neal. Again, rather indicative of the sloppy performance of the Socceroos in Brasilia. They survived that particular scare. No changes made as yet by Holger Osik. He did hint this week that maybe Mitch Langerak would get a run out between the posts, and perhaps Tommy Rogic and Mitch Duke as well. Here's Bresciano. Well, you pointed out, Robbie, it was probably the key for Australia in the first half, but he's just not really had the opportunity to try and create anything for the Socceroos. And again, that sort of ball sort of underlines that.
And you see Tommy Orr picking the ball up at 20 metres inside his own half.
Given away by Bernard. Maxwell. Back for David Lewis.
Just in respect to no changes at half-time, might be a case of Holger saying, well, you lot have got yourselves into this. Off you go and see if you can get yourself out of it.
Maxwell a little hesitant. Laid off by Joe. Lewis. Just so easy on the ball, aren't they, Brazil? Every one of these players, perfect technique, lovely touch by Bernard, and this is Thiago Silva, the central defender. It's going to be a corner for the Seleção.
Thiago Silva, the centre half, coming forward.
A deftness of touch, though, from Bernard.
That beautiful outside of the foot, controls it up into the air and just side foots it through to Thiago Silva. Not just to cop the knock on his ankle there.
Sturdy challenge from Sasha Ognanovski. Corner taken short. Bernard with the cross. Ball's in the back of the net, but it won't count. Referee Enrico Caceres has spotted an infringement from Thiago Silva. So the margin will remain at 3 for now. It's certainly not for offside. Bit of pushing, bit of holding on McGowan, perhaps. Well,
tell you what, they're lucky to get away
sure
with that.
about that.
I thought McGowan
6
maybe
to 1
a
and
little
half
push
a dozen
there.
of the other, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe the little push at the end, but certainly McGowan got very, very close to Thiago Silva, and he seemed to have his hand on him initially, but maybe a push right at the last moment there swayed the referee. That's their second disallowed goal. They've had the ball in the back of the net 5 times.
Neymar, who scored his 25th international goal and his 41st appearance for his country in the first half. There is Big Phil. Brazilian coach on whose shoulders so much rests in 12 months' time. They will expect to win the World Cup on home soil. Cruz can't make anything out of that. This is Paulinho. And flicked by Neymar, doesn't find its way through. Holman. Neil for McGowan. Australia trying to string a few passes together. It's been like wading through treacle in the first half trying to do that. Schwarzer, not a great clearance by him. McGowan wins it. Holman. Pressure relieved.
Vai embora!
You just see Josh Kennedy deciding to try and close Thiago Silva, and first time ball into Maicon. So now when they do pressure, they don't pressure together. And it's really one off.
Now to play by Ognanovski. Season in Qatar with Salal about to start next weekend. It's the other point to make, perhaps. Several of these Socceroos, Robbie, are not either in season or getting regular first team football at the moment with their clubs. It's a point we've been making probably for a few years now.
It is, but again, I look at the quality of where our players are playing at the moment, most of them. And I've said enough on that. You know, my feelings on that. Not playing in leagues that, you know, don't provide, in my opinion, the level required for international football. You might get away with it in Asia against, no disrespect to the Omans and Iraqs of this world, but not when you get to this level.
Tommy Orr caught in possession. Australia again unable to get over halfway. And here's the tricky Bernard. Jedinak stepping across. He is playing at one of the marquee leagues, the English Premier League, with Crystal Palace. Here he is on the ball. Holman for Bresciano. McGowan. Cruz. Back for Neil. Cruz left it a bit short for Holman, who was then guilty of holding against Luis Gustavo. Tensions perhaps starting to switch, or thoughts starting to switch towards substitutions. Nearly an hour played. This is Ramirez inside the penalty area, cross across the face, and Neymar just unable to twist his body into the required shape to get the contact on the ball.
A great ball. He just misjudged that, Neymar. He was in the right place. You just wonder why he just didn't open up his body there and side foot that one. Great work from Ramirez and that inside right channel.
High foot by Kennedy. Dangerous play. Neymar gets it through to Maxwell. Headed up in the air by Mackay. A bit of a shank by Orr. Australia under pressure again. Maicon out for Bernard. Luis Gustavo.
Great positioning of his body there, Gustavo. Made that look simple, but he was under pressure, just opened himself up. Came onto his left foot, shimmied with his shoulder.
Well, they're starting to play again here, Brazil. Here's Maxwell, left fullback pushing up. It's a lovely cross, and that is 4. It's Ramirez at the far post, and Brazil extend their advantage.
Well, what a brilliant ball from Maxwell. And We thought they might have taken the foot off the pedal there for a little bit, but once they step it up a gear, Australia nowhere near them. And it's 3 cheers for Ramirez at the back post. Brilliant ball. Here they move it, and they're all central Australia. Gets put out to the left. Maxwell just picks that out. That's a very good header, and up against Matty Mackay. It's not his strongest point. An aerial duel with Ramirez. It's a good header. It's a thumping header past Mark Schwarzer. Brilliant from Brazil.
Well, a great return to international action of late for Ramirez. He was actually suspended for 6 months after missing a disciplinary, after missing a meeting in London. So suspended for disciplinary reasons, but he's made it 4. Archie Thompson is on the park for Australia. Tommy Orr has been withdrawn, we understand. What's the plan now for Australia, Robbie?
Well, the plan is to try and not concede any more. I mean, with Archie Thompson on there, they'll hope to hit him on the break. He's slotted into Tommy Orr's position.
Here's Bernard again. He's been excellent today. Ramirez. Neymar. Brilliant feat again by the newly acquired Barcelona striker.
Not bad, Maxwell as well. A great balance from him. Refused to cross that.
He used to play for Barcelona as well, of course. Now Paulinho in an awful lot of space here. Back for Maxwell. Paulinho. Oh, they're just passing it around at will here. It's only partly away, and it's back in by Ramirez off the post. Well, Australia are all over the place and just clinging on by their fingernails here. Ramirez so close to a second.
Well, we know Brazil move the ball well and do pull you around, and very difficult to keep your shape, but that was just ridiculous. I mean, it's like a training run for Brazil.
Maxwell for Neymar. I think poor old Ryan McGowan is going to have a dizzy spells tonight, Robbie, after playing against Neymar.
Oh, well, thank goodness they're starting to make some changes.
Well, the first one is Dante from Bayern Munich for David Luiz. This one, the UEFA Champions League, of course, last year, Bayern Munich. Second change is going to be Lucas Moura from Bernard, who for me has been one of the standouts today for Brazil. And Paulinho also to be withdrawn. Hernanes is his replacement. Quickly back with the action as Maxwell floats one in. Australia have a free kick. Well, just the combination play of Brazil has been a delight to watch at times, and Ramirez seeing his effort come cannoning back off the post. Has been a thoroughly dominant display by the Seleção. Helped in part, it must be said, Robbie Slater, by a rather insipid performance from Holger Osik's team.
Yep, Brazilian have been fantastic, but the opposition has been poor. and completely off the pace. And in individual battles, well, there's not one on the field they've won.
Australia get a lucky break there towards Robbie Cruz. This is Holman. Then a slight miscue. McGowan. Jedinak. Bresciano. Still just under half an hour to go, Robbie, but as things stand, can Australia take anything at all from this outing in Brasilia?
Yes, but they need changes. That's all you can take out of it at the moment. It's as bad a display against top quality opposition, and we keep saying that, you have to say it, but still, it's just not good enough.
More changes imminent. Miller Jedinak to be replaced by Mark Milligan. Might have been teammates, if you believe the rumours, over the last couple of weeks. Mark Milligan having serious interest from Crystal Palace. He remains in the A-League for now, at least. This is McGowan. Step over by Cruz, and I think that was a shot from Holman. Clever dummy, though, and Brazil are back on the attack. Through Joe. Bresciano breaks it up.
Yeah, it was good positioning from Bresciano. Very important as well, because they had men pouring forward, Brazil.
Milligan with his first involvement. That's better from Australia. Now Robbie Cruz on the burst through, but the pass is behind Archie Thompson.
No, it's a shame. Played it a little bit early there, Robbie Cruz.
Well, fleeting though it may have been, Robbie,
it was a
that was one of
moment.
Australia's best moments.
No, it was
in
the
an
best,
attacking sense.
No, it was the very best moment. So 25 minutes ago, you said, have we got anything out of it? Not as yet, but let's maybe in the last 25, with Brazil having made some changes, maybe we can get something out of it.
Laid off by Cruz for McGowan. Milligan. Referee was about to blow his whistle there, but played the advantage.
Yeah, Gustavo able to get up and keep possession. He's been good as well, Gustavo. He's been really the one that sits and allows the fullbacks to pour forward as well, because he sits there with his two central defenders to make sure they've always got three at the back.
Neymar. Ramirez for Joe. Strong challenge by Neil, but no foul given. Chested down by Kennedy, cleverly for Holman. He runs into rather a brick wall in the shape of Dante. Neymar. Drifting inside, as is his wont. Away from Bresciano. Thought about the shot. Tees it up for the cross instead. Hernandez with a little tug on the jersey. Free kick Australia. Another change, and it's the two-goal man, Joe, who will make way for the man known colloquially all across Brazil as the Duck, Alexandre Pato. Brought in as a late replacement, very much a fan favourite here for the injured Fred in the squad. He's been out of favour with the national team. Now back home with Corinthians after his stint with AC Milan in Serie A. And if he does manage to get on the score sheet, watch out for his goal celebration. This in honour of his nickname. He impersonates a duck paw by all accounts. Luis Gustavo with a floated ball towards Maicon, who accepts the corner off Mackay. Dante perhaps fancying his chances of adding to Australia's misery. Whipped in towards the near post, and Schwarzer will scramble across his line to keep that in play. Or will he?
Ball gone out. There'll be another corner. I think that comes off maybe the back, Lucas Neal.
Schwarzer thought about coming, but that's on the full by Milligan. Maicon for Lucas Moura. Archie Thompson says, I'll have that. Now the problem is what to do with it for Australia. Oh dear, problems.
Well, lucky he takes the shot there. Really snatched at that Maicon, but you just see that's the difficulty all game Australia have had. When they've won the ball, they've just not been able to do anything with it. They haven't been able to get out of situations. Tommy Rogic gets a chance as Brett Holman leaves the scene.
Third change for Australia. Tommy Rogic on for his 7th cap. What a few weeks coming up for Tommy Rogic. There's Marcelo with that left thigh heavily strapped. He's got Champions League commitments coming up with Glasgow Celtic. He's been named in that Champions League squad, and one of the teams they're going to face is Barcelona. One of the other two aren't bad either, AC Milan and Ajax. How's that for a group, Robbie?
There's a couple of difficult groups, isn't it? I think that's one of them.
Breaks for Mackay. Brasciano. McGowan. Milligan. Australia at least retaining possession of the ball for a sequence of passes here. It's something. Cruz. Mackay trying to get in behind the fullback. That's where it breaks down. They've been very small crumbs of comfort for Holger Rossic's team.
Well, second half they've at least had a few occasions where they've strung some passes together, but
lovely return ball for Neymar, who's onside across the face. It's in the back of the net, and it's Alexandre Pato. There's the duck paw celebration, and Brazil have 5.
Well, just too aware, and Australia just flat-footed. Give and go. It's a brilliant return pass. Lucas Neal didn't know where it was. Neymar did. First time ball across. Look at the movement from Neymar. Ognanovski playing him onside. The ball's allowed to bounce and he just drills this, and that's a great finish. Mark Schwarzer, no blame for him there. Neymar so aware of Pato's near post run. Finishes it off, and the embarrassment continues. But full credit to Brazil, quality from them.
Well, it's turning into A pretty miserable afternoon in Brasilia for Australia. On the wrong end of a real hammering here. And you have to say, Robbie, they've been taught an absolute football lesson here by one of the world's great teams.
Well, we knew this game was coming up, and I think everyone was saying, well, we're going to know exactly where we are. It's a better yardstick playing Brazil in Brazil. Well, we know where we are. And we're a long way off where we need to be. That was Joe's goal in the first half. The second one, Bernard with the cross, no question of offside on the first pass or this one.
Well, the service has been exemplary for the Brazilian strikers.
Well, we did lose 6-0 once to Brazil in the Confederations Cup final in Saudi Arabia way back in 1997.
Well, we're not far off a repeat.
Mind you, that day we did have Mark Viduka, I think, sent off after about 25 minutes.
Says Thompson. Dante. Back for Maxwell. Midfield is Luis Gustavo. And the line by Thiago Silva for Dante again. It's really been like Dante's Inferno for Australia tonight. A real baptism of fire as to what the World Cup will be all about in 12 months' time. That's what it's really all about. Brazilian fans starting to chant the Olays from the stands, and why not with Neymar in this sort of form? This is beautiful stuff. He slaloms away from 3 or 4 defenders before eventually Milligan says enough.
So
they just haven't been able to touch him.
No, he's brilliant. His balance, the way he uses his body and his feet. And you know he's coming inside most of the time, but you just can't do anything to stop it. His feints, step overs. Actually, it's not really step overs he uses most of the time, it's just his body.
Well, Robbie Cruz trying to switch for Thompson for the counter.
Well, the ball was on, but just so slow. Touches and he's going to have a good sleep tonight. Ryan McGowan.
I think he'll be dreaming of Neymar. It'll probably be a nightmare, in fairness. Just seems to have the ball on a string at times, doesn't he, Neymar? Now Brazil are going to make another change here.
Let's hope they take Neymar off.
Don't think they're going to. It's a like-for-like switch. Maicon to be replaced by Marcos Rocha, who was another late inclusion in the Brazil squad for the injured Dani Alves. He too is a right-back from Atletico Mineiro, winning just his second cap. Maicon's been excellent on his return to the international team after a 2-year absence.
Well, you call him a right fullback, but
he's more of a right winger, really,
he plays
isn't he?
as a right. Well,
Yeah.
in this sort of form, when they're at home and they're in such complete command of the match, he's like a right winger. The fullbacks play so high. And you get their two wide men or to come in and play narrow, which opens up the channels for them. Although on this side, Maxwell has played pretty much in that left back spot because Neymar does like to hug that touchline, so he doesn't come in narrow very often.
And that, of course, has pegged the two Australian wide men, initially Cruz and Orr, back towards their own defensive third. Alexandra Pato unable to get the wrong side of McGowan. And Mitch Duke has come on as well as a replacement for Josh Kennedy for Australia. There's confirmation of that change.
And Mitch Duke gets a taste against Brazil. What a rise for him, Mitchell Duke. Had a good Southeast Asian Cup, impressed Holger Osiak. I was watching him last week, Simon, and would you believe he was playing at against Gladesville at Christie Park. So he's gone from playing Gladesville to playing Brazil a week later. Not a bad story, that, is it? Mind you, at times Australia have looked a little bit like Gladesville. No disrespect to them.
That's cruel.
That's harsh.
Robbie.
Well, such has been the gulf in class between the two sides. It's been, look, for most sides and most nations, you know, it would be the case, but it's just the ease with which Brazil have dismantled this, which has been alarming. There's no disgrace, as I said right at the start, in losing to Brazil, but it's the manner in which you do. We barely had a shot at goal. Well, we haven't had a shot on target.
Well, that's the thing. I heard our colleague Mark Bosnich saying this week that you might not win the game, but you need to take something out of a trip like this. You need to, have some pointer towards the World Cup next year that said, yeah, well, we did that, or we did this, either the result or the performance or some facet of it, and it's been difficult to try and fathom that for Australia tonight. Might be more damage here.
This is the areas where our wide men have always picked up the ball in this game. You see Archie Thompson, Tommy Orr was the same. He was always on top of Mackay, and Brazil do that to you. But tactically, if you can try and get your wide men to not have to do that, maybe a midfielder coming across, sliding across, but we just tactically haven't been at the races either. There's Mitchell Duke.
Well, one thing you know from Mitch Duke is he'll give you plenty of willing runs. That's a great story on the back of just 5 starts in the A-League, and here he is on the pitch against Brazil, the 5 times world champions. Neymar shrugging off Robbie Cruz as though he wasn't there, and just trying to thread it through for his teammate Hernanes.
Yeah, Hernanes, he was on there. He was just a little bit flat-footed, Hernanes.
Carlos Alberto Pereira set to the left of Luis Felipe Scolari. And we just saw one of the central threads of this game there in that slow-mo replay. Ryan McGowan desperately trying to keep tabs on Neymar. Should also be said, it's not a position that Ryan McGowan plays every week, right fullback. And the other flank, left back, not exactly Matt Mackay's natural role either.
There you go, you got 2 fullbacks who are not natural fullbacks, and that's a massive point, really. Such an important position. You can see the way Brazil play with their fullback, well, particularly Maicon when he's on so high. It's a specialist position, fullback, and we've struggled certainly to find the left fullback. Of course, Luke Wilkshire not here.
Well, there we go. It is 6. Luis Gustavo has the reward for his excellent display. And we've got a repeat at the scoreline between the two nations all those years ago, back in 2001. Great finish from Luis Gustavo. 6 of the best from Brazil.
Well, that's a brilliant strike. And sometimes a strike, you got to take your head off and say, well, he's just hit that so sweetly. Again, they work their way into a position, little pressure on the ball. That's a bullet. There's no thought process behind it. He just gives it for some violence from outside the box. Hits it with the full instep. That whistles past Mark Schwarzer, who has no chance of stopping that. Brilliant strike from Gustavo, who's been excellent this evening.
First international goal for Luis Gustavo. Man who plays for Wolfsburg in Germany. And it's a sorry-looking scoreline from an Australian point of view, but you have to say it's a fair reflection of the balance of play.
No discussion here.
Now, Mitch Duke, heavy touch, took the ball away from him.
Well, I think it's Gustavo. I think the Australian defence and midfield's sort of backing off, because quite often they play the ball in, you know, try to get it wide to Neymar in those sort of positions, because Gustavo's just pulled the trigger.
Maxwell skips clear of Cruz. Oh, goodness me. This is going to get rather ugly if Australia are not careful, if it's not already.
Well, it's already ugly.
Rogic caught in possession. Little chip forward for Neymar. Schwarzer there ahead of him.
Again, no option for Ryan McGowan there. Looking for someone to play and none available.
Just under 5 minutes to go.
Let's hope there's not too much injury time. Well, talk about knowing where we are. Well, we've been taught a lesson. First-class football here. I always knew, and I think you said it before, and always going to be a difficult game. And no disgrace in losing to Brazil in Brazil. In super form at the moment, in spite of the last game they did lose to Switzerland, but before that unbeaten in 11, of course, won the Confeds Cup here in Brazil, smashing Spain 3-0 in the final. But it's what you said before, what can you take out of the performance? Is there a positive? You have to find some sort of positive, and there hasn't been. There's nothing.
Well, Brazil certainly love playing in this stadium. They've now scored 20 goals in 4 matches at the Estadio Mané Garrincha. I'm trying to think of a larger defeat than 6-0 for Australia in recent history. Was the one against Croatia a few years ago in the late 90s, Robbie?
That's right, when we'd been... Well, that was Terry Venables' last game in charge, I think it was.
7-0, wasn't it?
It was 7-0. Yes, I'd just like to say that I played no part in that game. It was a difficult one because we'd been to the Confeds Cup where we'd lost 6-0 to Brazil, albeit in the final. We made the final, beating, I think it was Uruguay in the semi-finals. A fantastic goal from a young Harry Kewell, of course, who emerged from those games against Iran and in that Confeds Cup to emerge as certainly the superstar of the future that he was going to become, which he did, of course, and great to see him back in the country with Melbourne Heart, captain of Melbourne Heart as well. Spicy opening game, actually, I think, against Melbourne Victory, his former club. I'm just trying to talk about something else to deflect from here, Simon.
Completely understandable. That doesn't quite come off for Neymar.
But anyway, that was the one, 7-0 to Croatia.
Well, this hasn't been much of a contest either. Julio Cesar, I think he's read the daily papers between the posts for Brazil.
Well, he's been a spectator. In fact, I'm surprised why he hasn't moved up and maybe joined in the attack sometimes. But just on that Croatia game, Croatia, of course, were a wonderful side back then. They went on in that World Cup 1998 to semi-final, and I think finished in 3rd position, losing to France, the eventual winners, of course, 2-1 in the semi-final. It's the era of Suka and a wonderful side.
Prosinecki, Stimac,
Bilic, Slaven Bilic.
Great players. And Boban, he was my
Boban,
favourite.
of course, yeah, how could we forget him? Superstar.
That year, of course, Brazil got to the final of the World Cup.
And lost to France.
Lost to France by 3-0. Well, thankfully for the Australians, we're in the final minute of normal time, as this has been an absolute pasting. This is Maxwell. Neymar. Maxwell had continued the run. Cruz stabbing it forward for Duke, who loses out to Neymar. Here he goes again, drifting inside, fending off Lucas Neal. Pato trying to turn. Sasha Ognanovsky digging the sand up off the surface as he scooped that one away. Oh, it's just so effortless. The touch from Maxwell, and Ramirez pulls it back. The referee almost getting a touch.
Well, they're just too quick. Neymar, just too much speed for all the Australians.
It's better from Rogic. Just too hard for Archie Thompson. As we move into stoppage time, there will be none of that. Well, the referee's done Australia a favour. Absolutely brutal from Brazil. Braziliant, you could say, from the Seleção. 6 of the best they gave Australia tonight. 2 from Joe and 1 from the brilliant Neymar in the first half. Ramirez, Pato and Luis Gustavo in the second. It finishes Brazil 6, Australia 0.
I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. I'm breathing in the chemicals